Hello everybody, my name is Olivia and today would like to introduce you to my guest, Dr. John Martin, research pathologist, excuse me.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Olivia. I'm down here in Southern California. I have a primary interest with water bringing energy into the body.
Ooh,
Now,
okay.
this is a big challenge, fascinating. Water has been known to have benefits way back. In the Bible, there's a quote from St. John, the Gospel, about Bethesda being a pool where water would be activated by an angel, and whoever first went into the water would be healed, whatsoever disease they had. I like this story because the prominent or most prestigious research organization in this country is the National Institutes of Health, and it's situated into Bethesda.
Ooh,
Yet,
interesting.
if you sense the medical traditions there, it's all based on the pharmaceutical approach. The idea that you have to have a specific disease for a specific treatment for every specific disease. This drug for this disease, a different drug for a different disease.
Right.
The idea expressed in the pool of Bethesda was you would get well whatsoever illness you had if you could get into that water in time.
Interesting.
Yeah, fascinating. And also many places, I did not know this until fairly recently, Mecca is located where water was active. Hunza people, Lourdes, there are many places that say the water is beneficial. In this particular location, the water has this kinetic, dynamic activity to it. By the research we're doing, it argues strongly the water molecules are not so tightly held.
Okay.
The water molecules are looser, they're more kinetically active.
Okay.
And they also don't hold on to the minerals as tightly as some more regular water, making it more available. It's a fascinating challenge to pursue all the medical benefits of this, what we call accelerated water.
Oh, accelerated water.
Yeah.
So this is a specific type of water that you found?
This is a water that is occurred naturally.
Okay.
Other people have devised various mechanisms of activating the water. What's impressive with this water, I was down here literally 12 years ago, had a sample in the back of my house,
Okay.
went back to review it a few months ago, lo and behold, it still had the activity it had 12 years ago.
The same water?
Yeah, the same water.
Amazing.
And this is a characteristic of the more naturally activated water.
Okay.
The somewhat artificially activated water tends to lose activity fairly quickly.
Oh, I
Now,
see.
so there's a big challenge to prove its medical benefits, to see if coronaviruses can be suppressed, HIV. There's already some evidence along those lines to say this water can be quite beneficial. The approach we're taking is to look at the science, how this water can energize water, not even being mixed with it, just being placed close to regular water.
Okay.
Our body is essentially 70% water,
That's what they
so we're
say.
looking at pouches of water, we call them wearable water-ceutical pouches.
Okay.
People having those pouches on their body, will it produce some benefits or not? A more objective way that we can show this transfer of energy, interestingly, is with gasoline. So if we take a pouch of accelerated water and put it simply in the luggage compartment of a car, we're seeing improved mileage, both because there's energy going into the gasoline, but also it combusts much more completely. People who have a diesel car can smell the exhaust, put a pouch in, the fumes become much less.
Less. Oh,
So-
that's great for the
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, and so this is what we've done. We've put together a two-peg study, clinical study to see what are the medical benefits of using wearable water-ceutical pouches containing this accelerated water.
Okay.
And then in return for donations coming in, we're giving people the opportunity to prove for themselves having this accelerated water in a small bag in the back of the car will improve their gas mileage and hopefully improve the environment.
That's quite interesting to me. Wow.
No, it's nice, and we have a couple of publications on this topic with hard data showing this concept that water is not the only fluid that can be activated, but gasoline can, so why not take advantage of it, particularly when the cost of gasoline and the
it's quite expensive.
The energy going up. So that's the two-prong. We hope we will have a GoFundMe page. The work is supported by and started in an organization called MI Hope, Mental Illness Hope.
Okay.
I take great pride in this. There were parents in Los Angeles who had children with schizophrenia, other psychotic illnesses, and they wanted to do something for their children.
Okay.
Their hope was something would be there.
Yes.
I now can go back to these people and say, yes, there is hope in this accelerated water. We want to move forward with the clinical studies. We want to see the benefits in children with autism, learning, behavioral, emotional problems. We want to see the elderly people who are beginning with signs of dementia to see if providing additional energy into the body via these accelerated water vouchers will bring about clinical improvements. That's an exciting task, and we're moving forward as fast as we can, appreciating the participation of others and hoping in return for their donations we can give them something back, simply showing that their car can be improved later, hoping to prove that their whole body can be improved the same way.
That's wonderful. This is amazing. Can we show a pouch to anybody? Do we have one that we can show? I believe that's one. Yes.
I'll bring this big pouch. The absolute spectacular aspect of this naturally available water is its abundance. It comes straight up from the ground. So it doesn't cost very much to put water into a big bag like this. And this contrasts with some of the artificial ways of trying to energize water and putting it in 1 or 2 mils into a little tube. This is quite abundant, meaning there's so much water here, it doesn't have to be put right up against the fuel line. It can be simply in the luggage compartment.
Of a car, or a vehicle. Any kind of vehicle. Tractors, cars, trucks.
And in reality, big shipping that uses bulk fuel going across, huge pollution. So addressing the issue of climate change using this energized water is a good way of doing it. And the science is also fascinating because we can take this water and run various tests and show it has this accelerated movement. We can put particles into it and show how dynamically active they are, or even more important, use this as a source of energy to change other fluids, other waters.
Wow, that's fascinating stuff. I can't believe it. So is this bag or pouch made of any certain material?
Yeah, no, this is being used. The former tech bags that used to be heat therapy, people typically would put hot water in it as a way of doing it. We have other formats for doing it. Mylar bags from helium balloons. Essentially just working, but putting a lot of water to begin and then coming back to just have whatever most efficient in terms of shipping, moving. But we're very happy to have feedback from people, and so far it's been pretty interesting when people can get that extra 2 to 3 miles per gallon out of it, and also when the tests are done, less pollution in the environment. So as I said, there's some good publications along the lines of improving the performance of gasoline with bringing this energy, and we call it KELEA, K-E-L-E-A.
And what does that stand for?
It's an acronym for kinetic energy limiting electrostatic attraction.
Wow.
And on internet, there's good reference to Kalea as a force that can come into water and loosen the bonding between the water molecules.
Wow.
That's the research, and the fact that we're some 70% water
Yes,
makes
we are.
sense, that we
Human
can
beings.
bring that energy into the body. So that's
Okay.
the excitement of the clinical studies, and we're pursuing that, and certainly will appreciate the widespread participation of people
From around the
willing
world.
to support it and just see for themselves that this is an area of science that needs to be explored.
Oh, it does. And you have the source of water, or you have found a source of water that you had said earlier, you mentioned that you've been sort of sitting on this water or testing it maybe for 12 years on your own in the water.
This particular water, not only is it abundant, but the fact that it maintains its activity.
Yes,
And we've looked
very
at
important.
the water now for some time. So I think it's a new era of
Right.
moving forward, as I quoted that earlier, St. John Gospel one. It's really coming back to say that this pharmaceutical approach of trying to pinpoint every particular illness with a specific drug might give way to more energy-based medicine,
Like,
bringing
is this
energy
holistic?
back into the body.
Is
It's
it sort of?
holistic and energy-based medicine,
Yes.
and it gives
It's natural energy.
and a lot more recognition that we're not just biochemical reactions. We actually have something pretty fancy, the way we bring this energy into our body normally, beyond the calories in food, how this, what I call alternative cellular energy source, that this alternative cellular energy, or ACE, can bring the body to a higher level of functioning.
That's amazing.
And there are so many uses that we just need the time and resources to move. Burns, we've seen it now, where people have suffered pretty severe burns,
Okay.
treated with accelerated water,
Okay.
and the inflammation falls away, and the whole area heals with no sign at all of scar tissue.
Wow.
It's just spectacular.
Ah,
This has to get out
amazing.
there
Yes.
into
Society.
first responders, just to
Yes.
very quickly
Mm-hmm.
get things like activated water. In any hospital setting, you
That's
have patient after patient receiving normal saline infusions. Why not have that activated?
Activated water.
Yeah, and
That's
so
amazing.
I think there's an enormous amount of opportunity now to have people willing to take on some of these particular projects, detail how to optimize the benefits,
Oh, yes.
and then just see it, and to be sitting in a location where there's just an abundance of this naturally activated water is thrilling. I mean, it's a great opportunity, and it would be great to see this whole program accelerate into something
Huge.
highly dynamic, huge, change the nature of our understanding.
Of everything. Yes, that's amazing. Not only can our cars go further, we increase the mileage in our cars, gasoline prices are crazy, so that is sort of like a godsend. I can't wait to try that with my vehicle, actually, if you allow me to. And
of
can I
course.
also show these?
And so these are like what we're calling wearable waterceutical pouches, and trying to evaluate them. The very rigorous studies have to occur where people don't know what's in the pouch, whether it's more accelerated water, regular water, and good clinical studies. They take an effort to move forward, but I like the concept that we don't have to actually be drinking the water or spraying on the body, which can have temporary benefits,
Of course.
because this can work continually. But there's been an enormous rise in
Yes.
chronic illnesses.
Oh,
People
yeah.
point to 54% of children, this is a 2011 study, have chronic illness, and even more so the autism, learning, emotional disorders,
Right.
where the research began and the ultimate goal. There are viruses in the community that are causing primarily brain damage, autism, these illnesses.
Right.
The immune system does not target these viruses. I call them stealth adapted viruses because the immune system doesn't target it. My hope is that this accelerated water will provide the form of treatment to suppress these viruses. So that's the sense that I have. The concern about the viruses, they came from some of them came from vaccines. The idea that viruses can avoid the immune system isn't all that new. There's only a few components in most viruses that are actually targeted by the cellular immune system. So a virus can lose those components. We showed years ago that some cytomegaloviruses from monkeys could lose those components, give infection but no inflammation. The immune system is indifferent, but energy pathways might come in. The more recent data is really fascinating in that it shows not only do these stealth adapted viruses lose their components targeted by the immune system, but they can bring in, exchange, switch with sequences from the normal genome, meaning that these monkey viruses have picked up monkeys, particularly in this case, rhesus monkeys that were used a long, long time ago for vaccines.
Okay.
They can bring up DNA from the monkeys, bring it into the virus, and then these viruses come into humans, and then this monkey DNA is able to get into the human genome. That has enormous consequences in terms, if it gets into germ cells, it will be multi-generational effects. But if it gets into a tumor, if it picks up the gene, we could be looking at major problems,
Yes.
way, way more profound than the coronavirus one. So another incentive to move forward with this energy-based medicine is to be able to respond should some of these monkey DNA containing stealth adapted viruses turn out to cause more of acute illnesses that needs to be addressed very quickly. And I think that understanding this alternative cellular energy pathway will be the approach to cope with this problem should and probably when it does occur.
Wow. This is very serious. And you brought up the coronavirus, which is very new right now
Yes.
to the whole world. So
No, absolutely.
Yes.
And so we're always at competition, biological warfare by nature. She wants to throw at us what she has, and we need to throw back. That's why, again, it's nice to see nature has a way of naturally activating water, putting energy into water,
that's right.
and that water can indirectly put energy into our body, strengthening our end of the fight.
And
so
our
we
immune
can
systems
more
possibly.
effectively-
Or,
Yeah, and not even so the immune system, again, with this really fascinating concept that viruses can bypass the immune system by not being recognized, and there has to be something else able to fight them off, which I'm anticipating is in these
water.
activated accelerated water.
Accelerated water.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Good.
You are so, this is exciting. You're
it is.
very, very intelligent. You know what you're doing. You're a doctor of many, many years. You've done a lot, and I know you have a book here somewhere. I was looking at it earlier. Is that book available to the public also?
There is a book, and the book actually is entitled Stealth Adapted Viruses, Alternative Cellular Energy, ACE, and Kalia Activated Water.
Okay.
It's on Amazon. It does give a broad base of information on which we're building each year, and I hope if there is to be the second book, it will be the clinical results of studies in primarily again children to see it. There's enough of sort of preliminary information to
Yes.
make this a very likely outcome if we can get onto the clinical studies, which is why I'm always pleased to hear from parents and other people dealing with the problem and willing to work in some kind of partnership to help optimize how these therapies can be applied.
That's excellent. So not only would you want people to test these giant pouches with their gasoline, their vehicles, right? But are you also going to be testing people by having them with your clinical studies, that is? Are you going to be doing the research with these sort of pouches too? Are you wearable, like you wear it somewhere in your body? Is that what you mean?
Again, making a clear distinction. One is just straightforward gift in return for a gift or donation, we'll get on with our work.
I see.
The idea of institution review board approval for clinical studies, making sure the informed consent and a good understanding, that is linked to the use of the wearable water-surgical pouches.
I got you now.
But
I understand
I'm
that
keen
better.
on that, and I'm also keen on supporting other people with energy-based medicine, other fluids that can be given even intravenously, and to see that area of medicine expand. But
Okay.
I'm really quite optimistic that the idea of these pouches is something that eventually everybody will see the benefit, that they now know it's good to drink water, but it's even nicer that you can have the same pouch and use it month after month without having to change it. It seems a very efficient way of proceeding, getting the benefit of the energized water.
That activated water, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this water, like you said, 12 years ago, you've been testing this water or kind of, you know, playing around with it, and the properties are all still there.
Yeah.
And that's something right there.
It's, since we've took on two topics, the third one, what's interesting, as best we can look at Kilea, and we've published on this, and experimental results consistent with it, as if electromagnetic radiation is able to compete with this Kilea. And if that's true, what's not focused on is climate change occurring because of increased electromagnetic radiation in the atmosphere. So much communication is occurring, so many rays are occurring. If Kilea is something that's coming into the Earth, it might be being blocked somewhat by this increasing electromagnetic radiation.
Cell phones, things like that.
Yeah,
Is
just
that what you mean?
and we've done experiments along that line. Again, that I personally believe it, and as to the data, that's why I write on that topic, but it's a nice thought that if that's occurring, the way to compensate is to have an added source of this Kilea energy. And that kind of, again, makes sense, particularly if the water is abundantly available.
Yes. Wow.
That's good stuff.
It sounds like you're almost hitting the jackpot here with this water. I'm very interested and to try some of this. Yes, I want to be part of your studies also, if that's okay.
Well, of course, no, we'll go through that process.
And what do we tell the general public now? Do we have a website for them to be able to help you for their donations of, did you say $75 or more?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to, that non-profit, MI Hope, there will be a website, mihope.org.
Okay. We're working
slowly learning to work on that. The suggestion earlier about a GoFundMe page makes sense. And I think the email address, which I'm happy to give, wjohnmartin@ccid.org. We used to call Center for Complex Infectious Diseases, but now it's broad even to non-infectious diseases, to make a Institute of Progressive Medicine. But to email, I'm happy to encourage the discourse along the lines of no longer the pharmaceutical approach of coming up with a specific drug for a specific disease, but rather an overall benefit of enhancing the body's energy pathways.
Okay.
It's a good way of, I think, medicine evolving into that more broadly based one, and there's a need. The
Oh, yes.
incidence of chronic illnesses are becoming awful. Large numbers of people, I think because of brain damage, become addicted, homeless, aggressive, as they tend to be, and just generally not happy people. And it would be terrific to see somebody in government pick up on this and say, yeah, well, if you have water, take it down into these areas where people are struggling because of
Yes.
their homeless and so forth. That's the kind of application that is, I don't know, it just deserved. People should be doing it.
Yes.
It's not their fault that people get infected with these stealth adapted viruses.
No.
Their brain isn't functioning that well. We need to offer them some assistance.
That's
And
right.
this water, in my mind, will be that once we've proven it.
Wow.
And then to get the efforts of government behind this kind of an endeavor would really be truly worthwhile.
This sounds like a great breakthrough. This is what you're describing. I mean, this could really change the world and the way we all battle, instead of battling so hard with what's coming at us. These crazy viruses and things that we really have no control over. And you're probably right about one thing leading to another. That way this will compensate and eventually just help the world.
Well,
This is
thank you,
amazing.
Olivia. No,
I'm shocked and I'm stunned, and I'm just honored to have you here as my guest today, and just to speak with you is amazing.
well, my pleasure to speak to somebody who's so quick on the uptake, and you can see it. And that's
Yes.
why you egged me on to say all the other ones, because good research does that. It tends to be a key, opening up them other opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I think I have enormous confidence now that there is this alternative cellular energy pathway that ought to be the frontier in medicine and relatively easy to proceed when there's an abundance of water. And as we said earlier, if it can make your car run better, it surely can make you run better as
Yes.
an individual.
That's right.